Hello YouTubers, this is Music Horror here once again with another top 50 albums of all time, and this one's number 45. Oh yes, you'll love it. It's a way of life. It's as you can read down below, it's Pink Floyd's album More, or soundtrack for the film More, or music for the film More, whichever you want to say about it. But before I get into this, I may go into a little bit of a rant is I looked up a lot of reviews of this album and people saying that it's shit and it isn't that good or it's not Pink Floyd enough for them. And a lot of these people that I see reviewing it are fans of, at least in my opinion, they're fans of Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals in the Wall, and that's it. And they really don't give the other stuff a chance or say it's shit, but I actually personally quite enjoy this record. I think this up to date is one of my top 5 Pink Floyd albums of all time. It's that damn good. Now the track listing for this album is Cirrus Minor, The Nile Song, The Crying Song, Up the Keyboard, Green is the Color, Cymbeline, Party Sequence, Main Theme, Abizarbar, More Blues, Quicksilver, Spanish Piece, Dramatic Theme. Pink Floyd consists, if you don't know, at this point, of David Gilmour on guitar, Roger Waters on bass, Nick Mason on drums, and Richard Wright on keyboards. And wow. I went back and listened to this today, and I really believe I love this fucking album. I know there's people out there that bash the shit out of this album or don't understand, which I'm going to go into a story about this album and how it came into being. Because a lot happened in between the last two that I just have to bring up because it is very important. Syd Barrett was kicked out of Pink Floyd, fired, wasn't picked up for a gig, left at home, left to be a recluse. Who knows, who cares, because I think for Pink Floyd, it was the best decision they ever made was to get rid of Syd Barrett. And his mental state at the time. David Gilmour calls him the first acid casualty, which I tend to believe he was. But now let's get into this album. Is this a landmark album? Yes, because for Pink Floyd, this is one of 2 known transition albums they did. And the other one was Obscured by Clouds, which was another soundtrack album for 2 Barbara Schroeder films. Obscured by Clouds was La Valie, and this one was for the movie More. Sorry, blah blah. But this one is a landmark album for the transition, and some might ask, what's a transition album? It's an album in between 2 that bridge the gap. And I think Pink Floyd did these very well for what they did. They might not like the albums, but they are what they are. Because it really did bridge the heavy psych attitude of, or at least the psychedelic attitude of Saucerful of Secrets. Sorry, the name escaped me for a second. And Amagama, which is an avant-garde fucking masterpiece. I love that album as well, even though people shit on that one too. It's a very... I think this is also a landmark album for another reason, and I'll mention this right here. I think this is the album that proved Pink Floyd could be commercial. This is not as heavy as some of the stuff, or not as out there as some stuff they did, but I think it proved Pink Floyd could be commercial. Now, the signature song off the album, hands down, The Nile Song. The Nile Song is probably... Actually, I will go on record as saying The Nile Song is Pink Floyd's most heaviest song they ever did. Probably the most closest thing to hard rock they ever did. That was really heavy, hard, and you could say it laid groundwork for what would become known as metal. And it's in a lot of lists as being one of the songs that led into metal. Now, hidden gems off this album, I think there's a few of them. There isn't just one. Green is the Color, Cymbeline, Abizarbar, which is, I call Nile Song Part 2, More Blues, and even throw in Dramatic Theme. I quite enjoyed the Dramatic Theme song, but This album, now how did I feel after listening to this? I was mind blown at how good this album was. That it wasn't just, how do you put it? It's just not one of those albums where you listen to and you feel drained like I did after The Wall, sort of like that terrible feeling in your gut, like you're like, eh. It actually left me with a really good feeling after listening to it. Like, I'm glad I listened to it. Highlights of the album: David Gilmour's vocals on this album. Wow. That's all I can just say. Wow, David Gilmour's vocals on this album were phenomenal. Going from as hard as I was standing by the Nile, hard rock vocals, is something as soft as Green Is the Color, into the even very in between of Cymbeline. Some people love the chorus to Cymbeline because it's, and it's high time, Cymbeline. But no, it's a great song. There's great songs throughout this record. I really highly suggest listening to it. Musically, it's good. Like, you can't say any Pink Floyd album is bad musically. I know some might argue and say Amagama or some other albums they did, but I don't think musically, I think the band was very tight. I think they were experimenting with what they were doing. What else can I say about this album? Lyrically, it's phenomenal on some of these tracks. It's sort of on some songs, but on songs such as the Nile song, Green Is the Color, I've always loved that song. I thought it was probably one of David Gilmour's most beautiful songs that he sung. And yeah, this is my thoughts and opinion on this. Can't really say. The artwork. I really like the artwork to this album. With the whole windmill in the background and the guy looking up and the spear and all that. It was a good background, I thought. Or at least the album cover was good. And yeah, so this is my thoughts on number 45. You'll love it. Pink Floyd's More. This is Music's Horror. Not sure when I'm going to get my next one done, pretty much. Once I get time to keep doing these, I might, and this is just heads up, there could be days where you see me release maybe 2 or 3 of these a day, just so you're aware, heads up. Just so if you are subscribed to me, you're not feeling like, wow, he's like video bombing me or something, just so you guys are forewarned. But yeah, so this is my thoughts on this album. Buy it. I highly suggest buy it, buy it, buy it. It's worth it. This is Music's Horror once again. Peace.